Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas.
Now, I'm going to pause it here for a second because I think this is a very important topic and an issue that Jen and I tend to get into a tussle over, and that is whether or not there has to be any type of stringent rules regarding immigration. I happen to believe I'm a pretty hardliner on immigration, and the reason being is because of what it does to distort the labor pool. And this is one of the hallmarks of America First, true America First, not bigoted people who just hate anybody who's not white coming into this country and doesn't want them getting jobs. No, the fact of the matter is we have a country that does not have a system of education that is based solely on merit, that is based on advancement through different trades, different areas of study that are necessary to grow the country. And this has been what I would say is really a point of contention for a lot of people, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a point of contention for me. I think it's a huge reason why Trump was successful all three election cycles, to be honest, even though he totally won in 20. But immigration's been a huge issue. Now, Trump is no hero to labor. We all know that. But Bernie Sanders would have been if he was elected in 2016. The synergy between the Bernie and the Trump coalition in 2015, 2016 was very real, especially on immigration. Not that Bernie was anti-immigrant, but he was certainly pro-labor. And this is a huge point of contention, and one that I think without question has been the hallmark of the America First movement and will continue to be post-Trump. However, that's going to unfold. What is of tantamount importance on our part is to make sure that it doesn't become this anti-brown, anti-immigrant issue. The issue is we do not take care of our workers here in the United States. That's a fact. And so we have to recognize that that is a primary component to what we are going to do going forward. And I think Marjorie is absolutely correct on that point.
Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America First. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies, because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies.
If that is the case, and I appreciate her sentiment saying that that was one of the primary drivers as to why she did what she did, but make no mistake, There is only one healthcare solution. It's the solution that works in every developed country on earth. And I'm talking developed. I'm not talking half-ass efforts. I'm talking France. I'm talking Spain. I'm talking Germany. I'm talking the UK. I'm talking Japan. I'm talking Australia. What do they all have in common? There are plenty more. All of Scandinavia. And I can go on and on. Point is, what do they all have? They have a form of a single-payer healthcare system. That's what you need. End of discussion. So anybody else who tries to come up with a rational explanation as to, well, if we did this and we did that, no. Get rid of the for-profit middlemen in between us and our doctors, and you have a solution. Why? It's pretty simple. We don't need them. They are, as you want to know who the real welfare queens are, as I once eloquently said many, many years ago, Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross, United, Luigi, they don't need to exist. Doctors can make whatever they want to make. Nurses should make a hell of a lot more than they already do. And Lord knows there's probably a lot of people out there that would like to be doctors or nurses, and they can't afford it. We do not have a tuition-free public college or trade school system in this country like they do in other parts of the world. When ish hits the fan for other countries and they need help, who do they go to? Well, they come here to some degree. They go to other places like Cuba, communist Cuba. They send out their doctors. Wonder how that's possible in a communist country, eh, Marco Rubio? But it's pretty clear that if we have a solution, it's already there. Don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is what's needed. So we'll see what happens.
The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas. Just sit. They all sit collecting dust.
Now, not everybody agrees with all of these policies, and I don't agree with every component that Marjorie is talking about. However, I do understand why this has become a big dividing line for a lot of people. But as I said, when the country gets tight and people can't afford to live, strong men and, yes, strong women will emerge, and their rhetoric is going to serve as some form of catharsis for a lot of people that are in desperate straits, and they don't want to play in these woke politics games. Because let's face it, for the most part, it's just a game. And the ones in question that are vulnerable are always used as pawns. And there's a reason why they are always constantly talked about and drawing the most amount of attention from the algorithm, because it doesn't actually deal with the economic crisis that we're living in. And so by that measure, that is why it becomes a source of controversy when those issues become at the forefront. But there is a significant portion of people in this country who agree wholeheartedly with what Margie just said. So we have to accept that we can't agree with everybody on everything. Some of it good, some of it not as good, but be it as it may, there is a reason why she has gained as much of a following and a support system, especially recently, that she has.
That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up. They have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house. They have been laid off after being forced to train their visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans.
Just want to say that this is a part of the country that Jen has or is going to ultimately relocate to. And when you consider the type of people that live in South Florida and the type of people that have supported Wasserman Schultz over the years, it is amazing what a breath of fresh air conservative America ends up becoming for a lot of people who don't want to live in that type of neoliberal hellscape environment. So Marjorie's right. She does live in a nice district, especially if you like, Appalachia, if you will. Great nature, air is clean, just real scenic, almost like I said, out of sort of like a Norman Rockwell painting, if you will. So she's right. It is a nice district, but I still don't think she should be stepping down. Continue.
I worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard-left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election. And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us.
I told Jen a long time ago that if she was going to go forward against Wasserman Schultz, that you have to accept the fact that there are people that you think are your friends and they are going to stab you in the back and they're going to let you down and you are going to question whether this is even worth doing. Now, Marjorie was actually able to get in there and cause a ruckus, if you will. A real ruckus, actually. And she's lamenting the fact that a number of people let her down, stabbed her in the back. And I would be first to tell her, suck it up, Buttercup. You want to play in this arena? Very rarely, if ever, do you have friends, real friends. In politics, dime a dozen. And part of the reason I think Trump has locked in the way that he has is because more than anything else, he just wants undying loyalty with no questioning of his authority. Hence the comment of the despot that was brought up during the Mamdani press conference. But the truth is, very few people can actually make it in politics for the long run. There are always bumps in the road. And then there are opportunistic people who just see the grass is greener and they go for it. And that's the way things are. We saw that constantly in Trump's first term. We saw people throw him under the bus. We saw people get book deals. Part of the reason I think he had such a good time talking to Zoran is because Zoran just came straight out and told him how he felt and was very adamant about, look, I'm here to try to help New York City, your home. And I'm sure he, laid on the flattery very thick. But the point is, you just got to play to, Trump's sympathies. At the end of the day, though, Marjorie made a very conscious decision that she was going to do what was right, even if it meant losing or being ostracized. Jen made that decision when she spoke up for the Palestinian people in one of the most Zionist congressional districts in the country. I will forever be grateful that she did it, even if I knew it meant there was no way she could win. And so these are the decisions some people have to live with if they want to infect revolutionary change, as hard as it is to hear it. I do think Marjorie has an ace up her sleeve. I likely think she's going to run for a higher office like governor, possibly president. Governor seems to be the more likely move, especially since she's dropping out at the beginning of January, and when she would most likely get into a primary situation with Kemp stepping away. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think people are jumping to way too many quick conclusions as to why she's stepping away. I do have a theory as to why, but let's finish it up.
Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises, and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests, because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged, because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God, who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention, in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility.
And that, probably more than anything else, is why people like her and respect her. She's actually putting her money where her mouth is. She did say that this was not going to be a career for her. Matt Gaetz said the same. And credit where credit's due. The only reason why there is actually a reasonable chance that Wasserman Schultz is going to be out of Congress next year is because of the redistricting that is going to happen in Florida. She's a target. And it is very likely that that'll be the end of her career. Look, let it be how it's going to happen. But the point is, as Jen often says, we're running a hospice. We're not even running a retirement home. You have people that are there. Ooh, 666, sign of the devil. If you haven't smashed that like button, please do, guys. Really appreciate you all being here on this Saturday night. But remember, let's try to get this out to as many people as possible. Jen, please check the like count. Let's put it up there. Let people know where we're at. Try to get as many people to hit that like button as possible. Really appreciate it. But I do think that there is something to be said for not making this a career. It's not supposed to be. I see it as 4 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate, and that's it. That's 20 years. If you need to be on Capitol Hill for longer than that, then you might as well be a crook as far as I'm concerned. And Marjorie is not clean. She's had plenty of references through, well, not AIPAC tracker, but the Pelosi tracker, showing that she does do trading. Now, is she as egregious as some others? Probably not. But that doesn't necessarily make or it doesn't quantify as to whether or not she's one of the worst. But she's still doing what she shouldn't be doing. You know who else does insider trading through his wife? Ro Khanna. So it's nice that they want to get rid of this, but it would probably make a lot more sense if you just didn't do it altogether. We'll finish it up.
My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of non-stop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day.
That's fair.
It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
Well, like I said, she definitely left her mark. I do think that she was probably threatened and saw it as an opportunity to just step aside. Remember, there's a reason why Charlie's assassination was done in full view of the public. They wanted to make it very clear that if you think about stepping out of line, this is what's coming. You will all be made examples of.